What did God reveal to you this time?
Yeah. I've never before been willing to talk about this kind of stuff publicly, because you need people that can believe, that operate in the supernatural, that understand the difference between fraud and real, and we don't have a whole lot around, so I've always just kind of stayed in my shell and shared it privately with people close to me. This time, we are preparing to make a prediction.
Do it right now.
It'll be the biggest one we've ever made before. Him and I are working on the 400 pages of it, but here it is in a nutshell, that the Islamic nation is going to use a weapon of mass destruction. This is all going to start happening within the next 48 months. But here's the thing. It's going to play out in ways people don't see.
Tell me.
In that when it happens, Pope Francis is going to call for the revitalization of the Christian rules for just war. That's a very important statement. It's part of deep theology. Well, it means that we can justify fighting a war if we can meet certain criterion that are outlined by both Catholic and evangelical theologians. You have to meet certain criterion. He's going to call for that, but the Islamic nation is going to see that as a fulfillment of their 450-year-old hadith, which says that at the end times they would go to war against the army of Rome. And people have thought,
Rome doesn't have a big army.
They're going to, because there's going to be a coalition army. It's going to be made up of the United States, United Nations, Britain, Muslim countries are going to come in, but they're going to see their Christian justification for this war through this call by the Pope, and that's why the Muslims are going to see this as a new crusade, the final crusade, a battle against the armies of Rome. However, in the same way that the end of World War II led to Zionism finally getting its legs under it, the United States, Britain, the United Nations started calling for a Jewish state, a Jewish nation, and in 1948, what happens? A miracle happens. The nation of Israel, the fig tree blossoms, right? And guess what happens? The church that was asleep at that moment, they saw prophecy unfolding before their very eyes, and it gave birth to what we today call the Age of Fire, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Your old friend Catherine Kuhlman, A.A. Allen, Billy Branham, tent revivals, tabernacle revivals. It gave birth to one of the greatest revivals in the history of humanity, and that is what I'm going to predict. A lot of my prophetic friends don't even believe me. They say the America's going down. I think we could, by the way, have an economic collapse. Some of that stuff could happen, but I don't see that the church is dead. What I see is that we are right now near the first fruits of the greatest revival in the history of humanity. Angelic manifestations, and the other part that you're going to love that I'm going to write about later is a revival among Jews that will turn messianic, large numbers of Jews. What you've always dreamed of and prayed of is going to happen in this revival.
Well, I'm going to have to tell you something. There is a move of God. Just open your eyes. I don't have eyes for the doom and gloomers. I have eyes for the greatest awakening the world has ever seen. I mean, Jesus is not going to return with people not knowing who he is and having a chance, an option to have their sins forgiven, to have Jesus, the creator of the universe, live inside of them, to have his wisdom. I'm telling you, this is the greatest generation in history to be alive. And you and I are here. We have been called to the kingdom for such a time as this. So stop having your head down. Stop worrying about your food and your money and your shotguns. Like, hey, look up. Your redemption draws nigh.